read in newspapers coming from Saudi Arabia and other countries about great ulamas who said that some people are touched with jinn and they treat them by certain ways and they can expel the Satan from their bodies and they hear the jinn coming out. The big mufti, he said that in the papers. What is it true about this?
Can these muftis offer themselves for trials and experiments to others?
I don't know. Maybe.
See, this is the point. About the word jinn, there is so much controversy in the world. There are people who believe that jinn, the word jinn, is applicable only to an invisible form of life, spirit-like, like a ghost. And that form of life is free to move anywhere it chooses. It can go through walls, it can go through anything, and it can be subjugated through verses of the Quran or through some other chantings, for instance. You say chant something like that, they say they can be subjugated and pressed into service of man. That is one view. And the same people also believe that the jinn can sometimes overpower man, forcibly occupy him. So a man lives with two souls and two minds during that period. It's called the haunting period. During the haunting, the jinn is present, and when you speak to the man, it is not the man who answers. Mostly it is, they say women, it is women who are haunted by jinns. It is the jinn who answers back. And the ulama say, we have some tricks up our sleeves. That is, we know some verses of the Quran. When we recite them, then the jinn runs away. Right? And some believe also that the jinns, through verses, can be turned into your servants. And if you tell a jinn to bring a chicken cooked somewhere else, he would just run for it and bring it like an agility, And the jinn of the Aladdin's lamp, you remember?
Yes.
Huh? In Alfu Laylatin wa Layla? Huh?
Yeah.
That jinn also created so many tricks, So these are the views. But those people, those countries where such jinns are believed to be available, and the great Sufis and ulama and mashayikh, they know how to capture them. They are third world countries, poor people. They can't make the jinn bring the oil out of the earth, spring out. And they cannot make the jinn build industry for them. What sort of jinn are they? You see, it's a strange thing. Now, in this regard, in this particular area, I'll refer to the Holy Quran and see what we find there. We find no mention of any jinn ever capturing a human being. From Bay to Sin, from the first letter to the last letter. Read the Quran 100,000 times, you will not find one mention where the Holy Allah tells us that jinn sometimes capture human beings. And if they do, then turn them out. But the Holy Quran tells us that the non-believers say that, not the believers. The Holy Quran repeatedly tells us, the mushrikeen in Makkah, the idolaters, they used to say, Behil Jinnah, Behil Jinn. And about other prophets also. The claim is never made by a prophet of God about anyone else that he has been captured by Jinn. This is what I mean. See? So false people make the claim, the true people do not. And why did they say Jinn? Because they believe that Jinn is alimul ghaib. He knows things and he can do tricks. So because they saw the signs of the knowledge of the unknown in the words of the prophets of Allah. So they couldn't believe that man to be true. They couldn't believe that it is Allah who is telling him things. So they said it must be Jinn. He must have been captured by Jinn. And those people who were captured by Jinn, according to the mullahs today, like it was also according to the beliefs of the Kuffar Mecca, the idolaters of the Arab world, that once somebody is captured by Jinn, he loses his senses. So in that sense also, the word Janoon indicates as if somebody has been captured by Jinn, he's gone mad. So in that second sense also, they declared the prophets to be Al-Majnoon, visited by Jinn. So remember, the Holy Quran never quotes either God or angels or prophets of Allah or any book of God having declared that some people are captured by Jinn. It declares that the false people, wrongdoers, non-believers, those who believe in idols, they make this claim that some people are captured by Jinn. So where have these ulama learned their Quran? I don't know.
May I make a comment? The ulama mixes the idea of Satan with that of Jinn. And in the Holy Quran, Satan with the Shaitan with the Jinn. And they say that the Quran says مس من يتخبط كما كالذي يتخبطه الشياطين من المس.
This is not the exact word, but I understand.
Yes, this is the idea. So they say that these shayateen are jinn, and the jinn can touch the man and do this harm to him.
What I'm saying is, I understand this point. The Holy Quran, when it speaks of that, it says that when evil people, are overwhelmed with their bad desires, they behave as if they have been touched.
By shaitan, not by jinn.
I understand. But even then, kannahu, it doesn't say that it is shaitan which does it. It says they behave as if shaitan has captured them. It's always as if. But that is a different situation altogether. And to turn shaitan out, no prophet of God ever used any verses of any divine book to turn the shaitan out. If there was any such verse, was not Abu Jahl, the chief among them, who had been touched by the shaitan and captured? Was he not?
Yes.
Was it jinn? If it were jinn, the ulama know the formula, Rasulullah didn't know the formula. So, sheer ignorance, stupidity, Those who say that, they are touched by jinn, if anybody is. You see, no prophet of God ever recited any verse from any book over an antagonist or a hostile person and said, all right, you are captured by jinn, now jinn, go away. Where did it happen? In which book is it mentioned? Yes, in the Bible it is said in the New Testament. But that is a story no Muslim can believe. Jesus, they say, cast the jinn out of somebody, and that the number of jinns was so many. They went into the minds of the sheep, and all the sheep went mad and just dived into the water and got drowned. Now, this is a story of the New Testament. Christians may believe it if they like, but no sane Muslim can ever believe in such a thing, because never such a thing happened at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And according to the version of the Holy Quran, it never happened to Jesus either. It never happened to Moses or any other prophet of Allah. When one is captured by shaitan kana min al-jinn, according to the Quran, which means the jinn are a people who are rebellious, made out of fire. The Holy Quran says, وَخَلَقَ الْجَانَّ مِن مَارِجٍ مِن نَار, which means that he made the jinn out of fire, or a blast of fire. This is an Arabic expression. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ أَجَلٍ. What is ajal? How can you make man out of ajal? So this means anybody who has an element of haste in him, he's made out of ajal. Anybody who is fiery, he's made out of fire. This is an Arabic expression of the highest quality. And the Quran has the highest quality of language. So that is why jinn is created from fire, means they are rebellious people. Shaitan is rebellious. Anybody who refuses to believe in authority, he is from fire. That is exactly what Iblis said to God when he was required by God to submit to Adam. You know what he said? He said, I am built out of fire. He's built out of wet clay. Fire will not submit to wet clay. Fire overpowers it. Fire destroys everything. So I am a destructive man. Your prophet Adam is a creative man. He stands for good things. I am evil. I destroy things. He makes things. You see, wet clay makes things, and fire destroys them. The whole cities are raised to ground with fire. So he said, this is my nature. How can you expect me to bow to him? I said, all right, go away. But you're wrong when you say you will conquer the people of clay. When they submit to me, then they will reach beyond they'll go beyond your reach. You'll never be able to destroy them. This is what we read from the Quran. And Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam understood the Quran more than anyone, any human being can ever claim. Correct? Now, what he thought of jinn or shaitan, the mullah says one and the same thing. Kana min al-jinn, so shaitan was a jinn. Right or wrong? Right. He was a jinn. And Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, for every man there is a shaitan that runs into his blood. Where is that fire which runs into your blood or anybody else's blood? Somebody said, Ya Rasulullah, even in your blood there is a shaitan? I said, yes, but he has become Muslim. No, any man with an iota of common sense can understand this. He referred to shaitan or jinn to be that nafs-e ammara. Nafs-e ammara is a rebellious nature in man. When you say, do good things, they say, no, I'm not going to do good things. Allah tells you to do this, do that, all the good things. Nafs-e Amara says, no, don't believe, don't agree. So, Nafs-e Amara of Hazrat Muhammad ﷺ had got completely subdued. There was no evil voice ever rising from his heart, telling him to do bad things. That is the meaning of his shaitan becoming Muslim. So the Quran is a word of wisdom, profound wisdom. The word of God has to be a word of wisdom. So without wisdom you can't understand. That is the problem. The ulama also refer to the period of Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Sulaiman and draw their authority from what we find about the Jinn having been captivated by Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Sulaiman. Correct? Now, what did they do? They did very hard works for them. Masaniya kathira. And they built heavy industry out of this jinn in the Quran, correct? So if they draw their authority from the Quran and they know how to do it, they should build some industry in Arabia. What are they doing there? Poor people, backward people of desert and other countries, those Arab countries which have some oil, all right, they are better off. But what about those who do not have any oil? These ulama should have the same jinn employed by Hazrat Dawood and Sulaiman and do some industrial work there. They can't. Which means they don't understand. While the Holy Quran gives enough clues for us to understand. But if you don't have wisdom, you can't do anything, unfortunately. The Holy Quran gives us the clue that these jinns of Solomon and David, peace be upon them, you know, they were shackled in heavy chains. They were taken to work while they were imprisoned, bound in chains. It doesn't say they were bound in verses of the Bible or any of the other divine words. Have you ever read that in the Quran? And what sort of jinns are they who are shackled in chains? They are invisible things. They pass through the stone and walls and the metal. How could chains of iron hold them together? Only verses of the Quran, according to these ulama, could hold them together. And no verses are mentioned in the Quran. The Quran doesn't know that there are such verses. They know. Imagine. The Quran doesn't know that there are some verses which can bind jinns. The ulama know that there are some verses. So when you speak of the jinns of the Solomon and David, the Holy Quran says they were bound in heavy chains, which means they are hardy, sturdy people. They were rebellious people who had been enslaved by the power of Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Sulaiman alayhimus salam. With the grace of Allah, it was God who had given him power to conquer these people. Now, this is an old custom of those days. Even pharaohs, when they built the great pyramids, they used to move thousands of prisoners in shackles, from one place to the other, to carry heavy stones and heavy works, and they built the pyramids for them. So it is an old custom which is also mentioned in the Holy Quran with reference to Hazrat Dawood, Hazrat Sulaiman, and there is no wonder. So they were the rebellious people who knew, but at the same time, the Holy Quran doesn't say that even one single man was visited and haunted by one of the jinns of Hazrat Dawood. Show me the reference where it is.